What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about our max contract player in Zach LaVine. Now, I purposely did not make this video for a long time now because I was obviously well aware that he had a very disappointing game against the Miami Heat, and a lot of people probably didn't really want to talk about Zach LaVine at that time. However, of course, a lot of time has gone by. We know what the main goal for the Chicago Bulls is now. That's focusing on the offseason, focusing on the draft lottery, focusing on all these things that the Chicago Bulls will have to do in relation to the offseason and seeing what our future is going to look like. Well, I've talked about almost every single other player. I'm sure I've left a couple of them out, but nevertheless, it is also time now to discuss our max contract player. It is time to discuss Zach LaVine. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and Zach LaVine. Do you think that he will be here next season, first and foremost? But what do you think the future of Zach LaVine will look like in the long term? Let's not look just beyond, I guess, what we have to do next season, because I think for most people will understand that Zach LaVine will be here next season. At least I think that's what's going to be the case. But 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, these are the conversations that I don't think many people really know about. And of course, the Bulls organization wouldn't know about that either. So make your predictions. What do you think Zach LaVine's future will look like in the NBA with the Chicago Bulls or without the Chicago Bulls? But look, I would say Zach LaVine has had a very up and down season. It's just been a little bit crazy, I would say, for Zach LaVine, in all honesty. Again, the start of the season was fairly dreadful. It went from him saying he was 100% healthy with his knee. Obviously, they're not playing back-to-back games. That was a struggle. There was a point in time where Zach LaVine, even when he was playing, was just struggling constantly. He had that 4-point game against the Orlando Magic, and he got upset with Billy Donovan for benching him. There was conversations about the front office and Zach LaVine not seeing eye to eye on certain things. Then, obviously, you get to the midway point of the season and the end of the season. Zach LaVine turns it on. He had a fantastic, I guess, half of a season. He played very well, played the back-to-back, scored amazing amount of points, got to the basket, was finishing layups. We also figured out that he was one of the best catch-and-shoot players in the league. Very interesting. And had a very strong end to the season. Of course, the play-in tournament came around. He disappointed in one game. He thrived in another game. But altogether, up and down season for Zach LaVine, filled with controversy, filled with different people and different opinions. So, with that in mind, when you look at Zach LaVine, you have to ask yourself what the future will be for him. What do we see with this Chicago Bulls team? What can we be with him kind of being the guy on this team? Because let's be honest, Zach LaVine is probably going to be the guy on this team for the next couple of years. We gave him that contract for a reason. We wanted to keep him around. We wanted to give him that faith that he can be a guy that we trust and depend upon in the future. My apologies. Now, of course, a big reason why I didn't talk about him any sooner is because fans are still pissed off with him. And it's not because people think he's a bad player. I think people just believe he's not a max contract player. I think people are still having that debate until this day about whether or not Zach LaVine is a max contract player or not. And people are saying towards the end of the season, that Miami Heat game, that's the reason why he's not a max contract player. But when you look at that Toronto game, people will say, well, that's why he is a max contract player. So again, there are so many ways to dissect this, but I want to quickly, draw your attention to a different video that I made. Last video, in fact, when I was talking about Patrick Beverley and how I said that even if Patrick Beverley was here from the beginning of the season or whenever we decided to trade him during the season, that we would have been a 7th or 8th seeded team, not necessarily the 4th and 5th seeded team, the way that Patrick Beverley may have perceived this team to be, which is his opinion, and my opinion, I guess, is my own. And I said, because one of the reasons I've said because of that is because the Bulls are still having the same problems. And one of those problems was Zach LaVine. I didn't specifically mention him, but one of those problems was Zach LaVine. His knee injury, his terrible start to the season, the ability to miss games, especially back-to-backs, and we had a lot of back-to-backs at the beginning of the season because we had that France trip against Detroit. It was kind of like cramming all of our games into one period so we could go to France and stuff of that nature. So we played a little bit more games than anybody at that time. We can't forget all these things, and Zach LaVine suffered from that. He suffered poorly. But here's one thing I have said in the past and something I do stand by now. If Zach LaVine had the start of the season, the way that he finished the end of the season, For example, if he was dropping 30 points every single game, like he did at the end of the season, if he had that at the beginning of the season, the Bulls would have been much better off. 100%. I think the biggest areas in which the Chicago Bulls failed in was inconsistency. But towards the post-All-Star break and towards the end of the season, Zach LaVine was magnificently efficient. He was, and consistent in the process as well. And that is something that I cannot ignore. Since January, essentially, all the way down to the last couple of games of the season, avoiding the play-in, of course, he was really consistent. There wasn't that many bad games to go around for Zach LaVine. But if he had those games at the beginning of the season, this Bulls team could have been well off. 100%. This Bulls team could have been... maybe a 6-seeded team. Maybe we would have got into the top 4. I'm not sure. But we suffered a lot because of Zach LaVine's terrible start to the season and because of the knee injuries that he was dealing with, even though people were saying he's 100% healthy. So again, of course, the off-season as well for Zach LaVine was a big part of it as well. Not being able to play basketball pretty much the entire off-season, not playing 5v5 at all. Then coming back to the beginning of the season, that definitely affected him in some way as well. There are a lot of variables there. But what I will say is this. Of course, the future for Zach LaVine, I personally think he's going to be a Chicago Bulls player. Is it 100% going to happen? No, it's not 100% going to happen because we have seen trade rumors for Zach LaVine before. During the trade deadline, there was conversations with the New York Knicks about trading Zach LaVine. So it's not out the realms of possibility at all that Zach LaVine could leave to go to a different team if the right package comes in place. Torres Carnosova said he will listen to everything. Zach LaVine will be conversations that I think will be spread around the NBA for a long time. But I do feel like he will be a Chicago Bull by the end of it. I think he will stay here. I don't think teams are going to overly, I guess, unless we're going for a rebuild maybe, I don't think this team is going to overly change. I think some areas will change and some areas will stay the same. I see Zach LaVine staying the same. I see him being here. I see him being the key guy next season, and we'll wait and see how that goes. So I think the future for Zach LaVine, for those people that are happy with him being in Chicago, I think it's secure, and you can be at peace with that in my eyes. But I also think his end of the season brought a little bit more hope in terms of what's to come. Because, again, at the beginning and the middle of the season, I felt like there was no hope with the Chicago Bulls team. And again, I was in autopilot mode. I remember those times very, very fondly. It was terrible times. Just looking at the Chicago Bulls team on a game-to-game basis and just saying, this is not what we signed up for in many ways. This is not the team that we wanted to see constantly every single game. And the Bulls are not really learning from any of the mistakes that they are making on a constant, regular basis. So that middle of the season, that beginning of the season, it was horrible to watch. And I don't want to relive those memories. But the end of the season, maybe it's recency bias, call it what you like. It brought a little bit of hope that Zach LaVine will be just fine going forward. Assuming he remains healthy. Assuming he doesn't have any nagging injuries going forward. The version of Zach LaVine we saw at the end of the season is one of the best versions of Zach LaVine I think we have ever seen. And it does bring hope because he's still relatively young. He still has enough in the tank to improve every single year. And I do believe he can get better from here. I believe he can improve his own game from here. And therefore, I believe the Bulls will be better next season because of it, regardless of what we do with the team. I think with Zach LaVine getting better, if we have DeMar and Vooch in the same team, I do believe we'll be better next season than this season. I 100% believe that in my soul. It may not be good enough regardless. Finishing from 10th to the 7th seed is better. But it still might not be good enough. But I do believe Zach LaVine taking a next step and being healthy from, I guess, game 1 to game 82. We're being hopeful here at the end of the day. That will make this team better. That will put us in a higher standing. That will make us a team that, I guess, other teams will be worried about. And maybe it will be a respectable season next year. But I will remain still in what I say now. The fit around Zach LaVine is not good. And we need the fit around Zach LaVine to be good. I think Patrick Beverley fits Zach LaVine very well. A defensive-minded point guard with a shooter that wants to shoot the ball and a point guard that's telling him constantly he needs to shoot the ball. I think that combination works well. But Zach LaVine, what he doesn't have around him is three-point shooters. Very similar to DeMar DeRozan. The amount of times that Zach LaVine has the ball in his hands, if they're playing a zone, for example, or people are swarming him in the paint so he can't get a layup, he can't finish around the rim, three-point shooting needs to be the go-to for Zach LaVine. He needs to be able to pass to a player and ensure that player will be able to knock down the shot. So I guess in conclusion to this video, Zach LaVine does need more shooters around him. I think the defensive part of the game for Zach LaVine has improved, and the people around him on the defensive end is helping him dramatically, without a shadow of a doubt. And I think that's also why he had a big end to the season as well. Let's not take credit away from every other player on this team. The role players doing their role. But we do need better three-point shooting around him, and again, if you want the ball constantly in his hands, the way that the Bulls like to do it, then he has to have the ability to pass out to an open shooter. If the defense is crumbling, or if the defense is scrambling and stuff of that nature, you got to have a shooter there, ready and willing to knock it down at a high percentage. And that's what the Bulls have been lacking. So let's wait and see. You also have to mention, if we get a better point guard that has the ball in his hands more, and is a fantastic facilitator like Lonzo Ball. A lot of people are talking about Tyus Jones. I'll get to him in another video. Guys that are willing to facilitate at a high level. Zach LaVine is an amazing catch and shoot player. So his game could take another level from that retrospect as well. So many important details. But I will end this video here. To sum it up, the future of Zach LaVine, I believe, is with this Chicago Bulls team. I think his end to the season brought a little bit of hope for Bulls fans that he will be consistent from I guess game 1 to game 82 next season, without dealing with the nagging injuries, without missing games back-to-backs. Of course, I don't expect any player on this team to play 82 games, even the ones that did. I don't expect it every single season, but hopefully a healthy season, an off season, and stuff of that nature can take Zach LaVine to that next level. We need him at that next level. That's what he's paid to do. In terms of whether he's not or not he's a max contract player, at this point I would say I don't think he's a max contract player, but I still believe the potential is to get there. And people say it all the time. Players are paid on potential. So Zach LaVine has no other choice but to live up to that potential if you want to perceive him as a max contract player. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in the next Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.